Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we're talking about a situation that's blowing up fast online. Charleston White is catching major backlash right now after doing some pretty questionable things involving Carmelo Anthony. What's crazy is how fast everything flipped. Just recently, Charleston was one of Melo's biggest supporters.
I was starting to feel like I was being used for my influence and my connections and resources. When I tell you we raised over $1 million one day, privately, quietly. They wanted to start another GoFundMe. I said, no, I'm not doing the GoFundMe. They wanted to know, after we pay for the pill, will the money go to them? No. The extra money don't go back to you. It goes back to the people who gave it. It don't go to nothing else. The money is for the pill. So, going forward, I am no longer walking with, nor associated, or helping Carmelo Anthony. His daddy in the way. I don't like weak, I hate weak men.
Always speaking in his favor and backing him publicly. But within a single day, that whole energy completely changed. Now, it feels like he's gone into full opposition mode. No support, no loyalty, just straight conflict. The shift is so sudden that people are shocked watching it unfold. And to make things even more serious, Charleston White has already come out and said he's done working with the family altogether. Whatever was going on behind the scenes clearly escalated fast. And now the situation has turned into full-blown drama. I personally would need a little more solid proof before I believe that Carmelo Anthony's family and Charleston White actually raised $1 million in less than a day, especially without even having something like a GoFundMe link. I don't know. That just doesn't sound convincing to me. But let's say they really did raise that amount, and then the conversation shifted toward whether they could keep whatever money wasn't used for the appeal. In that case, I can understand why Charleston White would feel frustrated. If people are donating money specifically for Carmelo Anthony's appeal, trusting that it's going toward that cause, and then the family is already talking about using leftover funds for themselves, that's definitely a red flag. So from Charleston's perspective, it makes sense why he would step back and say, I'm not dealing with this. On top of that,
I'd rather stand with a strong daddy like that meth cap man than his black weak father trying to play victim. Now, your son's still living. Hug him, send him some books to read. I got the money, let's start to work on the pill. Anything else don't make sense. What's wrong with you? So, myself, along with criminal defense mitigation specialist, Shannon Ross, along with attorney Mitch Nolte, we are removing ourselves. Mitch was never on the case, but Mitch said he's not taking the case. Mitch said he's not taking the case. Why? Too many hands involved. They're trying to bring too many black lawyers involved. We don't need blackness. We need righteousness. We need righteousness. We don't need blackness. So the daddy done rubbed me the wrong way. When I got an email from Mitch Nolte, one of the top attorneys, well, I didn't get the email. The email was forwarded to me. But if Mitch ain't in, and Mitch won't get in, and Mitch won't take it, it's something stinky about this. And I'm telling you, homie, everybody believes you playing for the money. And I'm starting to believe you using me for it. You want to get the money, but then disassociate yourself from me? I'm here for that.
The idea of bringing in Benjamin Trump and Black Lives Matter into the situation adds another layer. I can also see why Charleston would say, look, I don't want to be associated with Black Lives Matter, especially if he believes there's been controversy around them. That's his choice, his right. At the end of the day, he has every right to walk away and say, I offered my help. Things didn't go the way I expected. I'm done. But the real issue is how far he took things after making that decision. The way he went off on Instagram and across social media after cutting ties, that's where everything escalated. At that point, Charleston White didn't just walk away. He went into full-blown opposition mode. Everything Charleston White is saying right now isn't coming out of nowhere. These are actually concerns that people in the public have already been talking about even before he stepped in and started speaking on it. There were already rumors circulating, conversations happening, and questions being raised about the entire situation involving Carmelo Anthony and his family. Charleston White is just amplifying concerns that were already there, not necessarily creating them from scratch. For example, people were saying that Carmelo Anthony had some kind of public defender situation going on. The family denied that, but regardless of whether it was true or not, that narrative was already floating around online. On top of that, there were also claims being made that the family may have taken money for themselves and left Carmelo Anthony in a bad position, basically leaving him out to dry. Again, these are claims and rumors, not confirmed facts, but the point is, these conversations were already happening in the public space. Now, me personally, I come at this from a different perspective. I genuinely believe that nobody loves Carmelo Anthony more than his own parents, his mother and his father. At the end of the day, that's their son. And from their point of view, I feel like they're making decisions based on what they believe is best for him. I don't think they're sitting there intentionally trying to sabotage their own child or make decisions that would harm him. That just doesn't make sense to me. Parents, especially in a situation this serious, are usually trying to do whatever they can to protect and help their child, even if the decisions they make don't always look perfect from the outside. But at the same time, just because I believe that doesn't mean the concerns people have aren't valid. There are real questions being asked, and those questions deserve answers. Like, where exactly is the money going? That's a big one. If people are donating large sums of money, especially for something as serious as a legal appeal, then transparency becomes very important. People want to know how their money is being used. That's just common sense. Another concern is why there seems to be such a strong focus on what happens to leftover money. Instead of everything being clearly directed toward the appeal process, there's conversation about whether unused funds could go to the family. And for a lot of people, that raises eyebrows. It doesn't automatically mean something shady is happening, but it does create doubt and suspicion, especially when the situation isn't fully explained. So when it comes to Charleston White, I can understand why he feels the way he feels. From his perspective, if things aren't adding up, if there are too many unanswered questions, and if he feels like the situation is getting messy, then yeah, he has every right to distance himself. Nobody can force him to stay involved in something he's no longer comfortable with. If he feels like the trust isn't there anymore, walking away is completely within his rights. But here's where things start to take a turn. Instead of just stepping back quietly and saying, "I'm done with this situation," Charleston White took things in a completely different direction. He didn't just walk away, he escalated things. He went on to announce a merchandise line, and this is where it gets really controversial. The merch included a t-shirt design called Watermelon Felon, with Carmelo Anthony's face placed on a watermelon. Not only that, but the design also included language implying guilt, which makes the situation even more sensitive. And now he's selling these shirts on his website. To make things even more intense, Charleston White publicly said something along the lines of, "Capitalism supersedes racism every time," and promoted the shirts as something that would be available very soon. And at that point, a lot of people started looking at this and saying, "Hold on, this doesn't sit right," because now we're not just talking about disagreements or stepping away from a situation. Now we're talking about monetizing something that has clear racial undertones and is tied to a very serious legal case involving a young person. And for a lot of people, that crosses a line, especially when you consider where the term watermelon felon came from. That phrase originated from a racist rant made by someone connected to the opposing side. So taking that same term, putting Carmelo Anthony's face on it, and then turning it into a product to sell, it raises serious ethical questions. And this is where things start to feel contradictory. Because if Charleston White previously supported Carmelo Anthony, spoke on his case, broke down details, even showed emotion while talking about it, and was actively involved in efforts to help him, then how do you go from that to now putting his face on a shirt that suggests guilt and ties into a racist phrase? It doesn't add up. Because logically, if you truly believed Carmelo Anthony was guilty from the beginning, then why were you supporting him? Why were you involved in trying to help him? That wouldn't make sense. And on the flip side, if you believe he's innocent, then why would you now participate in something that paints him in such a negative and damaging way? That's why people are confused. It feels like the shift isn't coming from a place of belief or principle. It feels more like it's coming from personal conflict. And then it goes even further. Charleston White also stated that part of the proceeds from these t-shirt sales would go to the victim's family. And while supporting a victim's family is absolutely valid and important, the way it's being done here is what people are questioning. Because there are so many other ways to raise money for a family in need. You could organize events, fundraisers, community drives, charity programs. There are countless ways to do it that don't involve controversial imagery or language. So choosing this particular method, especially one tied to something racially sensitive, is what people are struggling to understand. And that's why a lot of people are calling it unethical. Not because helping the victim's family is wrong, but because of how it's being done. At the end of the day, this is a very serious situation involving real people, real consequences, and real emotions. Carmelo Anthony, regardless of whether someone believes he's innocent or guilty, is a young individual going through a life-altering situation. And most people can agree that he didn't wake up that day planning to take someone's life. Honestly, in a vacuum, I didn't really have a problem with that. By itself, it's whatever. But when you take that situation and then add the context of what Charleston White did immediately after, that's where people start having an issue. That's where things begin to look questionable. A lot of people feel like Charleston White is basically bowing down to Jeff Maff. And to be real,
to the Metcalf parents, if I have said anything that hurt you, I ask for your forgiveness. Forgive me. I was in my feelings, I was in my emotions, and I was in my own ideology at that moment. And with that being said, I want to talk to the father, not the mother. When I look at this situation, the absence of the mother in front of the camera lets me know that's a grieving mother. And I want to tell you, Mr. Metcalf, I have no quarrels with you, sir. I initially agreed with you, as I do still agree with you. I did my best. I did my best. I heard you say it, and I made a call without hearing you say it. This is not about race. You have every right to be angry. You have every right to hate. And I'm telling black people, nobody have a right to be mad at you. You don't have a right to be mad at those parents. If we take us out of it and put those two kids back of it because we lost two children, we're arguing. We brought race into it. Black people introduced it. White people accepted it. From start to now, I've been trying to reject it. Why? It takes the focus off.
as a man, your word matters. If you stand on something, you stand on it with conviction. And if you don't believe in something, then you shouldn't be moving like you do just for the moment, especially when the situation is this serious. This isn't something small. This is real life, real consequences, real people involved. Personally, I don't support how this is being handled at all. But that's just my take. Now I want to hear from you guys. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this whole situation? And if you made it this far in the video and you want to check out another one, go ahead and click the video popping up on your screen right now. We're talking about how someone is accusing Roc Nation and Elliott Wilson of scamming them and ruining their life, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Hit that like button, show some love, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.